Millions of players have battled the demons of Doom, but only a select few of them have gone down in history as true legends. What made them stand out? Was it their overwhelming power, their iconic designs, or their ability to completely change the way players approached every battle? Today, we're exploring the demons that left the deepest mark on Doom's history and the reasons they continue to be remembered to this day. Join me as we look back at the demons that helped shape one of the greatest legends in gaming. Cyberdemon. The other defining boss of the original Doom. The Cyberdemon is the largest standard enemy in the classic series, a towering creature with the upper body of a horned demon and the lower body of mechanical prosthetics, with a rocket launcher fused to its right arm. It fires rockets in clusters, each dealing catastrophic damage, and it has enough health that killing it requires a serious and focused expenditure of the most powerful weapons available. The design, flesh and fury grafted onto military hardware, made it an icon of the series almost immediately after release. It has appeared in some form in nearly every mainline Doom game since, sometimes as a boss, sometimes as a recurring threat. No other enemy in the franchise has left as lasting an impression on the series' identity. Marauder. One of the most mechanically distinctive enemies in Doom Eternal, the Marauder is a fallen soldier of the same warrior order as the player character, a Doomslayer who was corrupted by Hell and now uses the same kind of power against what he once protected. He carries a shotgun, an energy axe, and can summon a spectral wolf to add additional pressure. The Marauder only takes significant damage during a very brief window after he winds up a strike and his eyes flash green. Outside that window, projectiles and most attacks are deflected or resisted entirely. Fighting a Marauder requires deliberately slowing down, waiting for a specific moment, rather than maintaining the constant output that works against almost every other enemy in the game. Many players found this jarring at first encounter, and some found it frustrating. It was intended to force a change in rhythm, to prove that even within the same combat system, not every problem has the same solution. Arch-Vile. Widely regarded as the most dangerous non-boss enemy in the original Doom 2, the Arch-Vile is a tall, thin, pale humanoid with an unsettling range of capabilities. Its primary attack builds a column of fire beneath a player after a brief charging period, and if the cast completes it, deals massive damage and sends the player airborne. Interrupting the animation by ducking behind solid cover is the most reliable counter. What elevates the Arch-Vile well beyond a standard difficult enemy is its secondary behavior. It can walk over the corpses of defeated demons and resurrect them, restoring them to full health and returning them to the fight. In a level where a player has cleared dozens of enemies, a single Arch-Vile encountered late can undo all of it. The ability to reverse progress is almost unique in the series. Cacodemon. Round, deep red, and floating on nothing visible, the Cacodemon is one of the most iconic creature designs in first-person shooter history. It moves freely through the air, pursues a target across long distances, and fires bolts of electricity or plasma from the enormous mouth that occupies most of its face. It can absorb a serious amount of damage before dying, and its projectiles hit hard. What keeps the Cacodemon threatening at every stage of the game is that it cannot be outpaced. It floats where it wants, ignores walls that would block a ground enemy, and always keeps coming. The design drew loose inspiration from a creature in older tabletop role-playing artwork, but whatever it borrowed, it transformed into something that became entirely its own symbol. Revenant. A bare human skeleton equipped with a metal jetpack and a dual-shoulder rocket launcher, the Revenant is one of the more absurd concepts in the series, and also one of the most consistently dangerous enemies in Doom 2. It fires 2 rockets per volley, one that travels in a straight line, and one that homes in on the player's position with varying accuracy, tracking around corners and through doorways if the angle allows. The homing behavior means simply running in a straight line is not enough to avoid it. The Revenant is also a capable close-range fighter, throwing punches that deal serious damage if cornered. It became something of a fan favorite over the years, a creature that sits at the intersection of terrifying and genuinely funny in its concept. Baron of Hell. When Doom was first released in 1993, the Baron of Hell was presented as the game's greatest challenge. a massive, muscular creature with goat legs and green skin that appeared at the end of the first episode as a boss encounter. Fighting Even One felt like an event. It throws arcing blasts of green plasma and shifts into melee if a player gets too close, dealing heavy physical damage. The Baron requires a significant investment of ammunition and sustained fire to bring down. In the original game, encountering two of them at once in a single room was a moment designed to feel overwhelming. As the series progressed, Barons became more common, but they never entirely lost the weight of that first encounter. Icon of Sin. The final boss of Doom 2, the Icon of Sin in its original 1994 form, appeared as a colossal horned face embedded in the wall of the game's last level, surrounded by a pentagram and mounted with a mechanical skull that continuously launched cubes into the arena, cubes that spawned every enemy in the game upon landing. The actual combat loop involved firing rockets through a moving platform into a specific point behind the face, destroying a brain hidden within. Bizarre as that sounds, it worked as a climactic moment. Its return in Doom Eternal was a complete reimagining, a fully mobile, city-sized demonic titan that walked through the world and required the player to climb its body mid-battle. The scale between the two versions reflects how much the series itself changed in the decades between them. Spider Mastermind. One of two major boss creatures in the original Doom, the Spider Mastermind is a vast organic brain mounted atop a mechanical platform that moves on multiple legs, armed with a rapid-fire chain gun that it runs continuously. A player caught in the open takes damage at a punishing rate. Its sheer size communicates authority. It does not feel like an enemy to be outfought directly so much as an obstacle to be navigated around. It appeared in the final section of the original game as one of the last barriers before completion, and its design reinforced the sense that the demonic hierarchy was not made entirely of brutes. Something was coordinating. Something had a plan. Pain Elemental. A large floating creature with a wide, tooth-filled mouth and tiny, useless arms, the Pain Elemental has exactly one method of attack, and it is one of the most disruptive abilities in the game. It does not fire projectiles at the player. Instead, it opens its mouth and releases lost souls directly into the combat space, producing them continuously as long as it remains alive. A pain elemental left unaddressed for more than a few seconds fills a room with flaming skulls rapidly. Killing it quickly is almost always the immediate priority in any encounter that includes one. Even destroying it carries a small complication, since it releases a final burst of lost souls on death if the player is not positioned to avoid them. Lost Soul. A floating, flaming skull with curved horns and no body below it, the Lost Soul is one of the stranger entries in the Doom roster. It attacks by building up speed and then launching itself directly at a target in a charging headbutt. After the hit, it pulls back before going again. Alone, one Lost Soul is a manageable problem. The issue is that they almost never appear alone. They are placed in groups by level designers, or more critically, spawned mid-combat by another enemy. Their movement through the air is erratic enough that tracking multiple at once while also handling ground threats creates genuine chaos. They absorb more punishment than they appear to, and can be difficult to prioritize when other enemies are pressing simultaneously. Doom Hunter. Appearing first as a boss and then as a recurring elite enemy in Doom Eternal, the Doom Hunter is a demon mounted on a mechanical sled that serves as both propulsion and weapons platform. The creature represents Hell's own attempt to combine demonic nature with military technology, a parallel to the augmented Doomslayer that fights against it. The sled must be destroyed before the Doom Hunter's core body becomes fully exposed and vulnerable, adding a layer of sequencing to an encounter that might otherwise be addressed by direct damage from the start. Cherub. Introduced in Doom 3, the Cherub is one of the most deliberately unsettling creature designs in the series. It appears as an infant-like upper body fused to a mass of insectoid legs, moving across floors and walls rapidly before launching itself at a target. The juxtaposition of an infant's shape with a monstrous lower form was a conscious design decision to unsettle on a level that straightforward monster imagery could not reach. Doom 3 shifted the franchise towards slower, more horror-oriented gameplay And the Cherub was among the clearest expressions of that intent, designed not just to be a threat, but to be genuinely disturbing in its appearance.